I realise we said last week that I don't want to get invested in Legions Imperialis, except they keep doing things like announce tiny Leviathans and tiny Derrideos, but this week I'm not going to get invested in Legions Imperialis just because there are tiny Baneblades now. Before we get stuck into things, I want to say a big thank you to Gaining Wheat and Zedron. Thank you very much for becoming patrons over on Patreon. If you're interested in that sort of thing, there's links in the description and you too can take a look. Now, I am determined to maintain that Legions Imperialis is not my thing, alright? The scale of it isn't necessarily for me. I just don't feel like it's something I would massively get into. I don't think it's got the sort of draw that is for me specifically, okay? Not everything has to be for me. That's fine. There's different things for different people. I'm good with that. But it really feels like they're going all out with things that, frankly, I want. Like, you know me. You know me at this point. I like myself some tanks. In fact, yesterday, we painted 4 Lehman Russ tanks over the course of 5.5 hours on the stream. We did that yesterday so that we actually have a full armoured company. And part of that armoured company is the Baneblade. I love me a Baneblade. Baneblades, well, I mean, I'm looking down here because I have my Baneblade right here. I mean, admittedly, it's kit bashed and, well, sort of kit bashed. There's extra stuff on it. It's slightly different to what it would be otherwise. I love this thing, and for quite a while, I've harboured a deep-seated desire to basically just run 3 of them. Plus other stuff. I don't know. I don't really know what else I put in there. Sentinels, maybe? That would be funny. 3 Baneblades and some random Sentinels? That's got to work, right? But I've so far managed to resist, because of course the Baneblade is massively expensive, and now that we have 10th, it also can't move or do anything really. However, there is now an avenue in which I could own not just 3 Baneblades, but potentially hundreds. And that's the problem, because this time, for Legions Imperialis, they're showing off tiny tanks. Last time it was tiny lads, and it made me excited because I love lads. There's so much that can be said about that last sentence, but we're just going to gloss right over it. But these days, the big thing for me isn't necessarily mechs or dreadnoughts, the big thing is tanks, and these are technically big tanks just in a tiny form. And oh no, I want them, and I want them so badly, and it's not fair. The tanks in question this time round are the Kratos heavy tank, which I do like, but I have to admit I've not picked one up yet. Mostly because I feel like there's other stuff that I want before this. This is not high enough up on the list for me to, you know, go for one. But the prospect of running 6 of them is kind of tempting because they're so wee and fun. I will say these have scaled down pretty well. They look pretty decent to me. Given the size of the kind of original model, it's no surprising that these have got a bit more detail, that they're a bit more well-defined than some of the other stuff that's been scaled down. They do look good. The thing is, I wouldn't be going for the Kratos, I'd be going for this because we have the Baneblade. We have the Solar Auxilia Baneblade, so we've got some extra shenanigans going on. We've got some slightly different details from the standard Baneblade. That kind of shield on the Demolisher Cannon, which I don't believe is part of the kind of normal kit. Also, the shape of that heavy bolter turret on the front, I think, is also a bit different. I just really, really like this. It looks great, and it's also in squadrons of 6, and I really want 6 of them because look at them. Not only that, we've got the option of building it either as a Baneblade or as a Hellhammer, and that just adds to the temptation because not only does it look good, but there's variety in there as well. Something that's a bit surprising is that the Stormhammer hasn't been shown off, because I would have thought they would do a Stormhammer variant, because the Stormhammer is of course like the Solar Auxilia kind of signature super heavy version of the Baneblade. But these do have elements of the Stormhammer on them, so like that kind of shield over the Demolisher Cannon, the sponsons on the side which are like double sponsons, those are very Stormhammer-esque. You can definitely see the similarities, you can definitely see the differences between what is a standard Baneblade and the design cues they've taken from the Stormhammer and applied to the tiny Baneblades, which are all things that I really enjoy, but I am surprised that this thing just hasn't been mentioned. Maybe that's something that will show up later on, I don't know. At the end of the day though, these are a really good kind of midway point. You've got those double sponsons, you've got that extra ornamentation, you've got that slightly different shape to things like the turrets for the heavy bolters on the front. I like this a lot. I really, really like this. I think they've done a good job of kind of mixing the Stormhammer stuff into this new teeny tiny Baneblade. Of course, you can't just have super heavy tanks rolling around all over the place. You need transports as well. So they have shown off the Deimos Pattern Rhino. Again, it looks decent, shrunk down. It looks very cute, but most of the detail still pretty well preserved, I think. I have to admit, I think they've done a really sensible thing with painting a lot of this stuff as Death Guard, right? Because the grime, the rust, the weathering, I feel like that does a very good job of highlighting the sharper edges whilst also maybe obscuring things that have made a bit softer in the downscaling process. I feel like that's probably, whether that's what they were intending to do by picking that colour scheme, I don't know, but I do like the fact that they've gone for this scheme, because it does, I think it kind of really plays up to these smaller versions' strengths, you know? Those Baneblades though, the Baneblades, look at them, and when if you've got a bunch of those, and you've got some Lehman Russes, and you've got some Malcadors as well, like, oh no, oh, it's so tempting. You need to just stop it now, okay? Stop showing me stuff for Legions Imperialis GW, because I don't like it, because you keep showing me things that I want, and I don't want to spend the money on those. I want to spend them on other things. But you keep showing me tiny lads and tiny tanks, and it makes it very difficult to resist. Because, frankly, there's a bunch of dreadnoughts up there, there's a bunch of tanks down there, there's another tank there, there's more tanks over there. Stop it. I'm weakening, but I'm determined to hold strong. The question is, what about you? Are you tempted by tiny Baneblades, or are you being sensible and mature about this? Which, let's face it, is the thing to do. It's also, you know, less fun. But we'll leave that there, shall we? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things. YouTube members, Patreon, feel free to like, subscribe, all of that stuff, what you're supposed to say at the start of the video, but I don't do that because it's tedious. Thank you very much for watching. Oh, there's an affiliate link as well. Oh, the intro, the outros, I can't even say outro. They've gone downhill again. It's just got worse. It's getting worse. We had like one good video for it, and now the outros are garbage again. We're just going to call it there.